keeps doing that. I get YouTube started and then it'll totally, everything will be there, but I know something is wrong because it'll completely cut the chat off and it'll show people coming in, but it won't show the chat. And I know some people said that they were still able to see the chat, but I couldn't see it on my end, so it's weird. But anyway, it's working now. I can see it. YouTube, top of the day. All right, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. Today is August 14, 2021, day 233 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 902. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Today, y'all, we're reading Ezekiel 26, 27, and 28, and then we're going to pick up where we left off at yesterday and Fossilized Customs on page 316. All right. I'm about to do the Shema. And then, all right, y'all. Let's get it going. Something. All this stuff is shit. So, it seems like I got in space. There. Okay. Mom, shalom. Okay. The Shema. Y'all, Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. We start at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Grand rising, Christina, grand rising. All right, y'all. So let's hop on over here. Ezekiel 26. Right, y'all. A message for Tyre. Remember, Yahuwah again is to everybody, right? After he darn near, I ain't gonna say cursed out Jerusalem, but he's just like, you know what? You worship worthless idols and you became worthless yourself. A grand rising, auntie. Okay, so he getting into everybody. So this first message is for Tyre. On February the 3rd, during the 12th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, this message came to me from Yahuwah, son of man. Tyre has rejoiced over the fall of Jerusalem, saying, Ha! She who was the gateway to the rich trade routes to the east has been broken, and I am the heir. Because she has been made desolate, I will become wealthy. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am your enemy, O Tyre, and I will bring many nations against you, like the waves of the sea crashing against your shoreline. I will destroy the walls of Tyre and tear down its towers. I will scrape away its soil and make it a bare rock. It will be just a rock in the sea, a place for fishermen to spread their nets, for I have spoken, says the sovereign Lord. Tyre will become the prey of many nations, and its mainland villages will be destroyed by the sword, for they will know that I am Yahuwah. This is what the sovereign Lord says. From the north, I will bring King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon against Tyre. He is King of kings and brings his horses, chariots, charioteers, and a great army. First, he will destroy your mainland villages. Then he will attack you by building a siege wall, constructing a ramp, and raising a roof of shields against you. He will pound your walls with battering rams and demolish your towers with sledgehammers. The hooves of his horses will choke the city with dust, and the noise of the charioteers and the chariot wheels will shake your walls as they storm through your broken gates. His horsemen will trample through every street in the city. They will butcher your people, and your strong pillars will topple. Then they will plunder all your riches and merchandise and break down your walls. They will destroy your lovely homes and dump your stones and timbers and even your dust into the sea. I will stop the music of your songs. No more will the sound of harps be heard among your people. I will make your island a bare rock, a place for fishermen to spread their nets. You will never be rebuilt, for I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Yes, the sovereign Lord has spoken. Kurt, Sandy, Shalom. The effect of Tyre's destruction. And this is what the sovereign Lord says to Tyre. The whole coastland will tremble at the sound of your fall, as the screams of the wounded echo in the continuing slaughter. All the seaport rulers will step down from their thrones and take off their royal robes and beautiful clothing. They will sit on the ground trembling with horror at your destruction. Then they will wail for you, singing this funeral song. O famous island city, once ruler of the sea, how you have been destroyed. Your people, with their naval power, once spread fear around the world. Now the coastlands tremble at your fall. The islands are dismayed as you disappear. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will make Tyre an uninhabited ruin like many others. I will bury you beneath the terrible waves of enemy attack. Great seas will swallow you. I will send you to the pit to join those who descended there long ago. Your city will lie in ruins, buried beneath the earth, like those in the pit who have entered the world of the dead. You will have no place of respect here in the land of the living. I will bring you to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. You will be looked for, but you will never again be found. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. All right, y'all. Next chapter, Ezekiel, chapter 27. The end of Tyre's glory. Then this message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, sing a funeral song for Tyre, that mighty gateway to the sea, the trading center of the world. Give Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. You boasted, O Tyre, my beauty is perfect. You extended your boundaries into the sea. Your builders made your beauty perfect. You were like a great ship built of the finest cypress from Sinir. They took a cedar from Lebanon to make a mast for you. They carved your oars from the oaks of Bashan. Your deck of pine from the coast of Cyprus was inlaid with ivory. Your sails were made of Egypt's finest linen, and they flew as a banner above you. You stood beneath blue and purple awnings, made bright with dyes from the coast of Elisha. Your oarsmen came from Sidon and Arvad. Your helmsmen were skilled men from Tyre itself. Wise old craftsmen from Gebal did the caulking. Ships from every land came with goods to barter for your trade. Men from distant Persia, Lydia, and Libya served in your great army. They hung their shields and helmets on your walls, giving you great honor. Men from Arvad and Helak stood on your walls. Your towers were manned by men from Gamad. Their shields hung on your walls, completing your beauty. Tarshish sent merchants to buy your wares in exchange for silver, iron, tin, and lead. Merchants from Greece, Tubal, and Meshach brought slaves and articles of bronze to trade with you. From Beth Tormaga From Beth Torgarma came riding horses, chariot horses, and mules, all in exchange for your goods. Merchants came to you from Dedan. Numerous coastlands were your captive markets. They bought payment in ivory tusks and ebony wood. Syria sent merchants to buy your very rich variety of goods. They traded turquoise, purple dyes, embroidery, fine linen, and jewelry of coral and rubies. Judah and Israel traded for your wares, offering wheat from Minnith, figs, honey, olive oil, and balm. Damascus sent merchants to buy your rich variety of goods, bringing wine from Helbon and white wool from Zahar. Greeks from Uzal came to trade for your merchandise. Wrought iron, cassia, and fragrant calamus were bartered for your wares. Dedan sent merchants to trade their expensive saddle blankets with you. The Arabians and the princes of Kedar sent merchants to trade lambs and rams and male goats in exchange for your goods. The merchants of Sheba and Ramah came with all kinds of spices, jewels, and gold in exchange for your wares. Haran, Cana, Eden, Sheba, Asher, and Kilmad came with their merchandise too. They bought choice fabrics to trade, blue cloth, embroidery, and multicolored carpets rolled up and bound with cords. The ships of Tarshish were your ocean caravans. Your island warehouse was filled to the brim. Bruh, it sounds like America, don't it? Tired that once great city forgot who she got all her wealth and wisdom from, right? The destruction of Tyre. But look, your oarsmen have taken you into stormy seas. A mighty eastern gale has wrecked you in the heart of the sea. Everything is lost. Your riches and wares, your sailors and pilots, your shipbuilders, merchants, and warriors. On the day of your ruin, everyone on board sinks into the depths of the sea. Your cities by the sea tremble as your pilots cry out in terror. All the oarsmen abandon their ships. The sailors and pilots stand on the shore. They cry aloud over you and weep bitterly. They throw dust on their heads and roll in ashes. They shave their heads in grief for you and dress themselves in burlap. They weep for you with bitter anguish and deep mourning. As they wail and mourn over you, they sang the sad funeral song. Was there ever such a city as Tyre, now silent at the bottom of the sea? The merchandise you traded satisfied the desires of many nations. Kings at the ends of the earth were enriched by your trade. Now you are a wrecked ship, broken at the bottom of the sea. All your merchandise and crew have gone down with you. All who live along the coastlands are appalled at your terrible fate. Their kings are filled with horror and look on with twisted faces. The merchants among the nations shake their heads at the sight of you, for you have become a horrible end and will exist no more. Last chapter for the eight. Last chapter for today, Ezekiel chapter 28. Trina, that's wobble. Yeah, that's what, yeah, it sound like America. Yep. A message for Tyre's king. Then this message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride you claim, I am a god. I sit on the divine throne in the heart of the sea, but you are only a man and not a god, though you boast that you are a god. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel and think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding, you have amassed great wealth and gold and silver for your treasuries. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. If y'all were here with us months ago when we were reading Legends of the Jews, remember we can tell just by reading scripture alone that we can tell when it talks about this, because they kind of the church uses these particular verses about the king of Tyre as saying that this was Satan. Even the portion where it says, I saw him fall like lightning, it wasn't actually talking about Satan falling from the sky. And even the New Testament takes that out of context because it doesn't keep reading down. Because if you keep reading down, it actually repeats or says for the first time some of this stuff that's being repeated here about the king of Tyre. Remember, Tyre was a great nation ran by a king and his generals and everything, and they got so good. Just think of they just like America, just like America KKK, right? Doing the same stuff, same exact stuff, and their wealth and their riches and all the pull or all the clout that they got with all the other nations around here have made them very proud, has made this nation very proud, like nobody can touch them, right? Yes. Hold on, let me go back up. Let me just go back up. Let me just start it over because it was only on verse 5. It is good. Then this message came to me from Yahuwah, Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride, you claim, I am a God. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea, but you are only a man and not a God, though you boast that you are a God. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel and think no secret is hidden from you. Your wisdom and understanding, with your wisdom and understanding, you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasuries. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are as wise as a God, I will now bring against you a foreign army, the terror of the nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die in the heart of the sea, pierced with many wounds. Will you then boast, I am a God, to those who kill you? To them, you will be no God, but merely a man. You will die like an outcast at the hands of foreigners. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Then this further message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, sing this funeral song for the king of Tyre. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of Yah. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone, red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonshine, blue-green beryl, onyx, the green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald, all beautifully crafted for you and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of Yah, and you walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you, right? They take this out of context too, referring it to Satan and using this to refer to Satan. And it's absolutely not, right? Just because he's using some of these analogies doesn't actually mean that it was Satan up in heaven. Because remember, this message is being given to the prince or the king of Tyre, right? The king of Tyre is getting this message. And what is it talking about? It's talking about how all his wisdom and everything that he had amassed with his wisdom, which means he had access to the realm of Yah. Yahuwah had given him this wisdom. He allowed him to look at it, to take it, and to use it. But then his riches, which he forgot, were not his own. Although they were his, and he was able to use them and to benefit him in his life and his kingdom, he forgot who the source was, right? You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you, or that pride was found in him, right? Your rich commerce led you to violence and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of Yahuwah. I expelled you, O mighty guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was filled with pride because of all your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love of splendor. So I threw you to the ground and exposed you to the curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought fire out from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All who knew you are appalled at your fate. You have come to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. A message for Sidon. That was. We didn't been reading a couple of chapters about Tyre. Tyre, boy, whew. Tyre, like I said, Tyre was just like America. It was the place to be where everybody wanted to go, next to Babylon. But remember, every time Yahuwah chastises us or he wants to teach us something or we need to get that booty spanked, he uses what's already in this realm to accomplish his work. And with nations and rogue cities, he normally brings another strong nation against it to get them back on track, right? To dole out that discipline. A message for Sidon. Then another message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, turn and face the city of Sidon and prophesy against it. Give the people of Sidon this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Sidon, and I will reveal my glory by what I do to you. When I bring judgment against you and reveal my holiness among you, everyone watching will know that I am Yahuwah. I will send a plague against you, and blood will be spilled in your streets. The attack will come from every direction, and your people will lie slaughtered within your walls. And then everyone will know that I am Yahuwah. No longer will Israel's scornful neighbors prick and tear at her like briars and thorns, for then they will know that I am the sovereign Lord. Restoration for Israel. This is what Yahuwah says. The people of Israel will again live in their own land, the land I gave my servant Jacob, for I will gather them from the distant lands where I have scattered them. I will reveal to the nations of the world my holiness among my people. They will live safely in Israel and build homes and plant vineyards, and I will punish the neighboring nations that treated them with contempt. They will know that I am their God. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was Ezekiel 26, 27, and 28. Kurt, I kind of talked about that a lot in quite a few videos. Matter of fact, go back. Any video where I have, especially the one, this is a bloody mess, in the title with blood, human blood sacrifice, any of that, go back and watch those videos because I kind of expound on it a lot. And I kind of go into some of those things. Okay. All right, y'all. So it's right here. All right. No. Let's see. 17. We stopped at the end of 316 yesterday, but we actually began on page 317 today. So I had to fix that. Okay. So we was talking about everything that we do, that it should be done in love, because we end up defeating our own purpose or end up accomplishing the opposite of what we were really trying to do. And it was, we read through 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the famous love chapter, right? If I speak with the tongues of men and angels but have not love, I am nothing, right? And so clearly we know, and I use the analogy, what we hear a lot. It's easier to catch flies. You can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And a lot of times, a lot of Yahuwah's people is a bunch of salt and vinegar just spewing all out over everybody, pushing everybody away. It's like, bro, that ain't gonna work, right? That's not gonna work. Okay. Hey, Jessica, you're right. You must be new here. We talk about that a lot. All right, y'all. So page 317. Come. Hold on. Let me show you this picture. And the picture says, consider the source of everything you are practicing. Religious garb of pagans who worship forces. Guard Yahuwah's word, be set free. So here's, you see the robes that the Jewish people be wearing, even the church and the clergy, you know, all this foolishness, right? So you might be able to see that. The pictures always look dark on Facebook. All right. Okay, so that's an example of what we're about to talk about here. Reverence to tradition grows stronger with each generation. Many traditions come from Eastern mysticism expressed in Hinduism. Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. If you are not the bride, but think you are, this is especially meant for you. Scripture identifies the bride, which is the same as the wife. And clearly we know who that is. That is Israel, right? When you get over into the New Testament, it start twisting up stuff, right? So you have to be very careful because of all the leaven that has been added all the way through, right? Paul speaks of this bride, and so does the writer of Revelation and the prophets of Yahuwah. The war in heaven is still waging, and the bride will become a fortress on the day of redemption, also known as the return of Yahuwah at the end of the distress. After 1,000 years, known as the millennium, the war in heaven will end with all those in rebellion being cast alive into the lake of fire. The bride is discussed by one of the messengers that releases the 7 last plagues. I want to share something with y'all. Look, I done already told my mama. Oh, I know, sis. I know. No, you didn't come across that way. I know. I was just saying you probably knew because we kind of talked about that a lot if you go look at some of the old videos. But look, since this brought up heaven, right? Let me share something with y'all. Y'all just kind of take it, think about it, meditate on it, right? Okay, so with our children, we're able, simply because they live in our household, they just kind of learn a lot, right? So when they internalize things or they get something, they're able to express it in a way in their own vocabulary, in their own words, right? So I said all that to say, the other day, it's been about 2 days now, about 2 days, I called my mom and my sister and told about it. My 7-year-old Isaiah, he walks into the kitchen. I had just got done doing the morning video, and he walks into the kitchen with a straight face. You know, this Isaiah, my child that'll haul off and punch you any given moment, right? I mean, it ain't like he hates you or anything, but it's just he's been fighting ever since the day he came out the womb, right? Listen, so he walks into the kitchen and he said, Mom. I said, yeah, babe. I was getting up. I literally had got up from right here and I was walking over here. He walked, matter of fact, it's upstairs. He had my staff in his hand. So he walked in the kitchen looking like an old noble sage. And he said, Mom. I said, yeah, babe. He said, heaven is not up there. It's in here. And I just looked at him. I said, what? You just say? He said, heaven is not up there. It's in here. And I just stood there for a second. I'm like, first of all, I'm sitting here thinking, first of all, I've never explained this to him in this way, but he literally really just all kind of summed it up, right? And so if you're familiar with some of the New Testament texts, which I really don't read to them, like they're not really familiar with New Testament texts because we kind of just go over Torah all the time, right? But what he said was true. So if you're familiar with the New Testament, you know the part of it where it says the kingdom of heaven is within you. Like that portion of scripture is actually true, right? Because you will find out that before anything manifests out here, it happens within, right? When you go inward, when you begin to meditate, like Yahuwah says, he says, meditate on his words, his instructions, so that we may make our way successful before us. That is really true. And the way he said that, I really understood it on a whole nother level when he said it. Like anything that's going to happen, all that we know, who we are, our purpose, the whole reason why we were sent here, all that is going to come from within. Like when he did like this, he was talking about the mind, the brain and stuff. I'm like, where did you hear that from? And he was just like, he just walked out the kitchen with my staff. Just quiet, like, you figure it out, sis. I told you what I told you. And so I'm like, boy, this child is way ahead of his time. So I thought about that when it started talking about the war in heaven right here, but it literally is. When you really learn how to meditate, all nations meditate. Even Yahuwah tells his people to meditate, because when you get quiet and you're able to block out all the other noise, right? And you really think about what's going on, wisdom will literally come to you. Like, it would literally come from within you in maybe a form of a thought, sometime a dream, but wisdom will come through you through times of quietness and meditation and reflection, whatever term you want to use, right? Whatever term you love the best. When you have those times and you set yourself apart, where you can just think through and just meditate and roll things through, right? Wisdom literally begins to come to you. You could be having an issue with something and not know how to deal with it. Wisdom will come to you. It happens all the time. A lot of times it comes to me in dreams, or even with our business and what we need to do or which route we need to take. It just comes, right? And I say all the time, it's Yah. Maybe it's just wisdom that's been lying dormant within us all the time, and we just needed to tap in or tap into Yah. But anyway, it's there. It's at those times when those things come, those things that we need the most. They come most of the time. They come from within, or what would seem would be within, or come from the spirit realm, or from Yah, however you want to term it, right? But yeah, I want to share that with y'all. I got little sages walking around here. Okay. After 1,000 years, known as the millennium, the war in heaven will end with all those in rebellion being cast alive into the lake of fire. The bride is discussed by one of the messengers that releases the last seven plagues. And one of the seven messengers who held the seven bowls filled with the seven last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, "Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife." And that's found in Revelation chapter 21, verse 9. The bride is described as a great city coming from the skies, and her light was like a most precious stone, clear as crystal, and named the New Jerusalem. The 12 gates each bear a name for each tribe of Israel, and there is a qualification stated concerning those who may enter her. People practicing error will be blocked from entering. Blessed are those doing his command, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and all who love and do falsehood. Revelation chapter 22, verse 14 and 15. And also something that I've learned. What's the name of that video? What video, Kurt? Did I mention a video? I mentioned a video? What video? Type it in. When I mention it, I'll let you know. But I also realized, and we kind of talked about it like a few weeks ago. There, let me say it like this. You will never be able to fool the unseen realm, right? So there is, okay. Ooh, kind of, I just want to make sure I word this right. Okay, so there are certain ways where we can access things in the unseen realm, right? So now we know there's a lot of stuff that happens in this realm. There's magic happening all over the earth, people dabbling into witchcraft, but they're doing these things in order to tap into something that's available for any and everybody to pull from the unseen realm or the spiritual realm, or some people call it from the ether, whatever term you want to use, right? But clearly we know that, right? But Yahuwah has a way for us to access those things. And we don't necessarily really have to go searching to pull things out. But there's a path that you walk that as you grow and you begin to mature, certain things is literally like it comes to you. You don't have to try to conjure up stuff and do all these different things, right? So, like what he said right here, look. The 12 gates each bear a name for a tribe of Israel, and there's a qualification stated concerning those who may enter her, right? And think all the way back to the beginning when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, different things were lost to them and they couldn't access them anymore because of their sin, right? It's like the same principle that's being taught all the way through. When you really begin to clean your life, it's really as simple as this. When you really begin to cleanse your life up and begin to not just do good, but literally deep within your being, your insides, you're not just faking a funk or faking it till you make it, but you're really taking strides to grow and do what's right. Different things will just begin to click and fall in line for you. So let me share something with you. Personal story. Literally just happened for me and my husband, right? So we know the power of agreement, whatever you want to call it. In church, you know it as the power of agreement. That's something me and my husband learned real early, right? Things don't work for us, so we tend to be at odds about certain things that we may be trying to do, even when it comes to our business, right? Um, but if we're not in complete agreement with one another, things will be held up. Things won't happen the way we're looking for it to happen. And clearly we know, okay, there's a disagreement between us somewhere, or it could just be that we're not ready for it yet. But when it's that, we know there's different things that happens like, oh, it's not time for that yet. But there are certain things like, why hasn't this happened yet? Right? And so with unseen frustrations between one another, between him and I, and some things that we hadn't quite gotten into full agreement on, what we were still kind of at odds. It's like one of these things, we just gonna have to disagree to agree right here. We'll just kind of do it like that. But we began to realize certain things is just not happening for us. Yeah, this will be blessed and this is blessed, but this right here, it takes another whole level of agreement. Y'all really need to be together on this before this can be released to you, right? It's this one thing that we have been working on for, I want to say, when did we? It's not that long, but it seems like it's so long. I say the beginning of this year. We've really been working on it. But it's like we can tell we still got some stuff between us we need to work out, because if this is released to us, instead of it being a blessing like it should be, it's going to cause the opposite effect. We both knew that, right? But it's like, yeah, we can do this, but they will still listen. We need to handle this right here, because this, like, we both know this is why this ain't happened. Like, don't get mad at me because it ain't happened. I ain't gonna get mad at you because it ain't happened, because it's the both of us, right? Let me tell you something. So this thing, because we looking at it, was like, look, we at this road again. We at this. It's like when this particular thing comes up, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt this year that this is what this is. I'm trying to share it with you without giving you too many details, because he's not here where he's like, okay, baby, go ahead and share. But he's here, but he's asleep. But just giving you the gist of it. So we were at this crossroads again. Listen, let me tell y'all. When I tell you, when you are really in agreement with somebody, not just, oh yeah, let's come into agreement about this, and then things just still kind of be fluctuating, like you still ain't seeing no results. We know that the power of agreement, it causes things, at least from our experience, we know it causes things to happen immediately, like literally overnight. We've experienced that with different things, not just with the growth of our business, but even in our household and stuff. Like this one thing, like what is this one thing? So it was like, you know what, we here again. Like we really have to make a decision, because apparently we really haven't really connected for real on this. Like we still playing because it still ain't happened, right? We clearly know we're so mature and so ready for this. Why hasn't it happened? It's like, what is y'all doing wrong? So finally, we really, I'll say, it's like, you know what, it is either it is or it's not, and we just gonna just this is we not even gonna pursue this anymore. We just gonna cut this off like at the root right here. So we have to make a decision. We really know, we both knew that that's not what we wanted to do, because we knew it could work. Like everything is in order for it, but it's us, right? Because it's like this. If you give something to somebody if you give people, let's just use money, right? Let's use money. If you give people a lump sum of money who is not ready for it, just think about people who win the lottery and they get the lump sum. But if they haven't already been practicing good money handling and actually paying their bills and doing, if they haven't already been in the habit of practicing these things, like it's already not a part of them, they end up broke in a few years' time, and their last state will be their current state, or where they end up when they're broke is going to be way worse than it was before they ever got the money, right? It's like one of those type of things. So it's like that same type principle. And so we knew this was one of those type of things. Like we really have to be, but we have been practicing this for years, right? Been practicing this for years. We know how to handle this type of thing. We know. So why is this not happening yet, right? So finally, long story short, it's giving kind of a little bit of background and example so you can kind of see what I'm saying. So finally, we was like, okay, just look. And so it was like, look, we have to really be honest here. And we like really, because if this thing happens, like if you don't address everything, even like your worst fears of what could happen, and that's the thing, that's what we hadn't addressed when we realized, we're like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Like if this actually happened for us, what do you fear? I said, be honest. Like, and we was honest. Okay, if this happened for us, my fear is that it could possibly, it could bless us, but it could also be something that literally not only tears our business apart, but also tears our family apart. So once we began to address those things, and that was one of both of our fears, right? But it was, although we was working on this thing, but we wouldn't really communicate with one another that, man, this could really be a good thing. Everything was there. We prepared for it for years, and finally decided to pursue it. But it was like we were scared about this, but we wasn't communicating with one another those things that we feared, right? So when we came to this again, it was time again. And here's what's crazy, y'all. Here's what's crazy. Yo, listen, here's what's crazy. We talked about it. We spent hours the other day. I ain't said hours, like literally a couple hours. Well, I can say hours because it was like a couple hour conversation. And then throughout the day, we would come back and just kind of hit things and just kind of making sure we're really clear on this, right? So once we got through all of that and really hit on the things that we hadn't been saying to one another about if this thing happened for us, the fears of how it could possibly go wrong, right? Once we address all of those things, it was like, okay, I feel better. Okay. And then what my husband did, we kind of hugged and we just prayed, right? And my husband, he said, Father, first of all, we thank you, right? And so we just kind of did the prayer, and we're in complete agreement about this. And here's what we don't want to happen. Here's what we do want to happen. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. We did that prayer. We came into agreement. Literally, what's today? Today is Saturday, Thursday. Thursday we prayed. No, Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Wednesday we prayed. I went to sleep. Wednesday night, had a dream. Here's what the dream was. Yo, when I tell y'all this stuff freaking works, it freaking works. I had a dream. That me and my husband were called to this conference room, right? It was this woman. She looked young, but you could tell she was older, right? And you could tell she was in charge of certain contracts, right? And so they called me and my husband in, and there was this one-page contract laying on the table, and it was like our contract had come up, right? It was now time to address your contract, and both of you need to be here, right? And so the contract was laying on the table. This is a dream. Our contract was laying on the table, and they said, okay, give me your IDs. Like they were verifying who we were, right? So I pulled out my ID, and my husband looking for his ID. And he's like, oh my gosh. But the ID was a normal ID. We have government contracts that require us to carry a government ID. And that's the ID they were referring to. Although she didn't say that's the ID she was looking for and need to verify, we we automatically knew that was the ID she was referring to. I pulled mine out. Here you go. My husband, he like, you know how you looking for something, like, oh my gosh, you know, and he pulled out his wallet. He's like, wait a minute, where's my ID? Where's my ID? And I'm like, where is your ID? And so he like, oh my gosh. He's like, babe, you know how you start patting on yourself. He checked his pockets up here, checking here. And when he pulled out his wallet, he was checking, but his ID wasn't there. He was like, where is my ID? He was like, oh, babe, I gave you my ID. He said, it's in my old wallet. He said, check your bag. I put my old, because he had just gotten a new wallet, right? Because the other one was worn out. He got a new wallet, and all the important stuff he gives me, he just kind of keep like a couple IDs on them. But this one, he said, you hold this, right? Because I keep all the safe stuff. I lock things up. You know, we don't need to lose it. So he put it, he said, I put it in your purse. He said, check your bag. You got it. And so I was like, oh, yeah, boy, we almost didn't pass the authentication, the ID authentication, bruh. And so I was like, here you go. I gave it to him. He had to present it, right? So I gave the ID to him, and she said, okay. And she pulled up the contract. She looking over the contract, and then she said, okay, all is in order. Okay. That was the dream, y'all, right? That was it. Well, it went into another dream, but the second dream was actually like it was almost, I want to say it was still kind of identifying and doing the same stuff. It was like, you know how you have two different dreams, but it's saying the same thing. But I went into another dream, but I half remember that. But I knew it was telling us the same thing. Okay, identification has been authenticated. Okay, it's good to go, right? Look. Okay, the blood animal video. I'll share it, Sandy. I'll pin it to the comment section. So then after that, I woke up, right? Listen, we prayed the night before. I had this dream. I woke up in the middle of the night, woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I told my husband about the dream. I said, babe, look. And I was like, kind of concerns me. I don't really know what this contract was. I said, it seemed like this contract, I know it was a contract about us, but I want to also say it seemed like it was a contract about business. But when I woke up to tell him this dream, I wasn't thinking about what we had been working on. I wasn't thinking about anything like that because I couldn't quite understand it. I said, it looks like, I said, we both were required to be there. I don't know if they were reviewing or looking over the contract of our marriage or the contract of our business, but it was a contract and we were both required to be there. We both needed to be there for this particular contract. And so, and then I kind of told him the details of it. He's like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know. See, I don't know if that's personal, if that's our personal marriage covenant contract, or if it got to do with business. I said, from the dream, I couldn't tell. I said, I really couldn't tell what type of contract it was. I said, but I want to say maybe it's a kind of mix of the two, but I'm not for sure just yet, right? So, boom. Told you about the little prayer. We came into agreement. The very same night, I had this dream about our contract being called up. It was up for review, right? Later on, this same day, y'all, the same day, remember, the night before, Wednesday night, we prayed. We hashed out all of this, what we was really feeling on the inside, what, you know, our greatest fears, if this happened, what could happen, what could go good, and everything that could possibly go wrong, right? Prayed Wednesday night, came into agreement. Finally, after all these years and months of actually talking about this and just being honest, right? Then I go to sleep. I had this dream Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Thursday, my cell phone rings about 4:30 p.m. And the people were calling us about this thing that we have been working on for a very long time. This very same thing that we decided, we hashed out the last couple of days and finally came into agreement on Wednesday. They called us the very next day. The very next day, I had a dream that night about a contract. Lo and behold, 4:30 the next day, Thursday, they calls us about a contract, right? And I'm like, yo, when I saw the number on my phone, I picked it up. First, I didn't know, because I'm like, sometimes you get calls and they got the different things. I'm like, well, you know, I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, oh, I could tell it was a business call. Maybe they need some extra information. I don't know. Picked it up. Yes, this is such and such. I'm handling your case here in this contract, and I need to vet. Here's what's crazy, y'all. Look, Because we submitted paperwork for this stuff, right? And when we submitted, we had to submit identification, like verifying who we were in real life. She said, yeah, she said, everything looks in order. She said, we just have to identify one more piece of information. She said, your husband said this. And I said, yes, it's my husband. She said, okay. She said, his ID expired. She said, has he gotten a new ID? She said, we just need to verify his identification. I said, and then my dream came back to me. I took off running through the house. I darn near hopped out the back door. This was Thursday. And my husband was sitting out there. He's like, girl, I said, they need to verify your identification. Where's your, because he literally, real life, real time, his driver's license expired. But our IDs up there, it was actually his driver's license that had expired. His other IDs hadn't, but his driver's license had. And he got a new one. And it literally had come in the mail on Tuesday. It came in the mail. We got it. I said, where is your new ID? Your new ID. He said, it's in my wallet upstairs. He said, oh, go look up. And he was like, there. I take off running upstairs. She said, yes, ma'am. She said, that's the only thing. She said, but everything else is in order. She said, just send it to me. She said, matter of fact, look, let me tell you something. Because we knew that we had somebody who was over the contracts, but we didn't call like a good gazillion. I know that's not a word, a good gazillion times, right? No, we can't give you the name of the person who's working on it. They have to contact you. I said, email or something. No, you just keep calling this number and we can tell you the stats. Like they were not budging. They were not giving us any kind of information. I even came up with all kinds of stuff to see if I can trip somebody up to get some information so I can call somebody. Nope. They'll call you. Keep looking for an email. And I'm like, bruh, we was getting frustrated, but the problem was us, right? We have to be in perfect agreement about things, right? And so I said all that. Oh, well, let me finish the story. So I got the ID. She said, yeah. She said, well, let me give you my email. Like all the stuff that we have been waiting, I've been fighting. I ain't gonna say scheming, but I've been trying to trick people up. I was like, I just need to talk to them because y'all might not be doing y'all job. All they need to do, everything is here. Why ain't this moving? We've been waiting for months and months, and ain't nobody said nothing to us. And so she said, oh, here's my phone number. So when she called and she said, here's my phone number, here's my email, I'm gonna send you this. She said, you know what, you don't even have to worry about logging back in. She said, send it directly to me and I'll go ahead and add it. And she said, and then it's gonna send you an email and it's gonna move you guys to the next step. She said, well, yeah. She said, yeah, I'm approving this. Just like her, like she like said, well, yeah, I'm going ahead and approving this. Like we hadn't been waiting and calling you guys for months and months, and like y'all ain't really been ignoring us all this time. I'm sitting here, and it really blew my friggin' mind. She said, "Yep, everything is in order. Just send me his ID. I verify, add it in here. Yep, okay." And she said, "I can't give you too many of those details because you might figure out what it is. Well, you won't figure it out, but it has to do with this contract." But she was like, well, yeah, she said, well, and it was like, she was asking us, she said, well, is this? And she said, do you, hold on, I'm trying to think of words. She was literally asking, she said, okay, well, we're offering this, but if this is not what you want, if you need more, she said, you let me know and I'll adjust it for you right now. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like we can just ask for what we want. You're just going to give it to us. She said, you just let me know now. I'm like, she said, because I'm approving this. I'm like, what? And so you should have seen us. And my husband was like, yes. He's like, see, it's been us the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was like, and the kids in here looking like, what in the world is y'all talking about? Jeremiah comes running down the stairs. Like, what? And we still ain't really told them either. So I wanted to share that with you. I'll share it maybe in the days to come, but right now it's just kind of, but I want to tell you how powerful the agreement between one another is. And I started saying this because I said, you will never be able to fool the unseen realm, right? You will never be able to fool the unseen realm. You will never be able to fool y'all if you are not ready for something. And if you don't have your stuff in order, even though you may be faking a funk, you putting on a good show. But if you don't have those things in order, the spiritual realm knows, and understands, and will not let you access, will not grant you access. You cannot get in, right? You will not be able to get in because you haven't done it the right way. I know some people can teach you, you can, and that's look, I'm glad you put like you mentioned blood sacrifices, Kurt. People be doing some of everything. People be conjuring up witchcraft and they be doing spells and stuff trying to get stuff to work. But even when you do stuff like that, if you are not ready for it, it's not going to work. Your access will be denied. Now, if you do get into something, it won't be into what you think you want to get into. It's going to be something else. You need to open up a door somewhere else and it's going to lead you off. But you will never access the good portion, which is there for all of us, right? It's just like my kids. I know they'll be able to drive one day, but I'd be a friggin' fool to give my 7-year-old the keys to my trucks to go drive to the store. That would be foolish of me. You'll be ready for it, but you have to be there. There's some time that needs to pass, and then you have to pass certain things so I can identify. Then I can grant you access to these things, right? And you can go. But you will never be able to fool the spiritual realm, guys. I'm telling y'all from personal experience, we know. So although we put things into practice and some people just do things religiously or, but it's like you're not going to fool the spiritual realm. If you ain't ready for it, if you really don't have things in order, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. That I am 100% sure of, right? Especially if it's something in Yahuwah, he said, I'm a good father, right? I'm a good father. I'm not going to give them something that's going to kill them, right? Right? So if you're not ready for it and you frustrated, don't get frustrated. Just know within yourself that your plan is not sound and you need to work some more stuff out. You need to get something else in order because it's not happening because you're not ready. You're not ready. Yahuwah is not in the habit of destroying his people with what he wants to be. Let me say that. He's not in the habit of destroying people with blessings. That I think that makes better sense by saying it that way, right? So, yeah, 57 minutes already. Me sharing my stories. Okay, but yeah, all of that. I was thinking about this as I was reading this, and with what he said right here, he said, the 12 gates each bear a name for the tribe of Israel, and there is a qualification stated concerning those who may enter her, right? So you're not going to be able to access the things if you haven't passed certain tests or if you're not qualified, right, to get in here. Because if you let a novice into a place, they're going to start tearing stuff up, right? That's why people get kicked out of places. That's why we got kicked out of our homeland. This is supposed to be good. It's a blessing. Y'all in here tearing stuff up. Y'all got to go, right? So let me finish reading this. People practicing error will be blocked from entering. Blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates of the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and all who love and do falsehood. And we'll pause right here, y'all. That was Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 and 15. Oh, I probably should have read this. You know what? Let me just read this because this go with this. Look, it says, unconditional obedience to the commands of Yahuwah is required, not unconditional indulgence, as many false prophets and teachers have been repeating. Repetition doesn't make anything true. We are giving our faith or our belief or our fidelity as a gift, and that faith produces good works, obedience to the Torah or the instructions of Yahuwah. If we practice idolatry or worship Yahuwah in a way he did not command us to worship, we must purge such things and learn what pleases him. We are counted righteous by belief, and our belief is perfected and shown by our obedience. Our obedience is the fruit of righteousness. We can identify a tree by the fruit we see on it. By the fruit we see in the bride, we can identify her. If we see what we think is the bride observing Christ's Mass or Christmas Easter, which is Ishtar, or Sunday, or Lent, or Ash Wednesday, or Halloween, all of which stem directly from pagan practices and times? Is it remotely possible that we are deceived? Where in scripture was the bride instructed to practice any of these things? Houses of worship using steeples, obelisks, and bells are of pagan origins. If the Christmas tree didn't originate from Yahuwah's Torah, how did it get mixed up with what people do? It's not secular either. It's an Asherah. Please verify this by personal research. Evidently, the bride currently has a few major spots and wrinkles which need to be wiped away. Google the words Asherah ornaments tree. Behavior is the evidence of our belief. Brother Jacob, no, I'm sorry, not Jacob. He's talking about James, Yaakov in the New Testament. Brother James tells us, you see then that a man is declared right by works and not by belief alone. James chapter 2 and 24. And he continues the idea in the later verse. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so also belief is dead without works. And that's James chapter 2 and verse 26. And that is where we will end, right? So that's still good, right? Believe and faith like we had. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, y'all. A thing had came through. Okay. Look, so a thing had come with what he just said about this faith without works is dead. It's the same thing that I was just saying, even with giving you what just happened with me and my husband. We had the faith and we believed that this was going to happen, but we still had something that we needed to do. We really need to really go over this. Like, we really needed to be clear about what was going to happen, what could possibly happen, and what could go wrong, right? It's definitely a good thing. But if we are not mature and not ready, we haven't even already discussed these things ahead of time, if we run into issues, what are we going to do? Right? Are we going to freak out and just begin to spiral out of control? Right? Because Yahuwah doesn't want that. So there are certain things that must be addressed, that we must take care of before we are allowed access into certain things. Right? So that's it, y'all. We just pause right here and put my page number. All right, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for the day. We read Ezekiel chapter 26, 27, and 28. And we read on Fossilized Customs, page 317 to page 318, y'all. It is Saturday, August the 14th, 2021, day 233 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 902. All right, y'all. Kurt, I'm going to share that video. Just go back after this ends. I'm gonna go to that, not to hear the chat box, but actually go to the comment section, and I'll post those videos, a few of them, the ones that I know for certain that I talked about it. I'll post them and I'll pin them to the top of the comment section, so you can just go click on them and look at it. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the Nazarite vow is the first 21 verses of Numbers chapter 6. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that is it for today. Be looking for that pinned comment, Kurt. All right, y'all. Love y'all. We out of here. I see y'all back here tomorrow, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce.